This conference will now be recorded.
So what we discussed yesterday was we understood the basics of SAP S4HANA, right? What exactly is SAP S4HANA? What are the different deployment options? Okay, like you have the option of on-premise, you have the option of cloud, and then very importantly, what are the three key enablers? Which means first one is SAP HANA database. If you are using SAP S4HANA, it is only possible to use with HANA database, which is providing you speed compared to the ECC system, because in ECC, we were allowed to use other databases also, okay, because of which there was a speed issues. So that speed issue has been resolved with SAP HANA. Similarly, second benefit of SAP HANA or SAP S4HANA is the user interface. There is a new user interface in place, which is called as SAP Fiori, which will allow you to access your transactions from your mobiles, from your tabs, and that too very simpler screens compared to the traditional screens that we were able to do to transactions, right? And the third one and the most important one is what are the simplifications in the financial processes. So within finance, what are the new functionalities which are available that we will discuss in detail, but just remember that these are the three important things: HANA, Fiori, and the simplified processes, due to which SAP S4HANA is becoming so much popular. Okay, and then we discussed there are multiple deployment options. Customers can select to go for on-premise, they can select to go for cloud, or maybe they can go for the combination of both. So in today's session, we will try to talk in more detail about this deployment options. Okay, what are the benefits of on-premise, what are the benefits of on cloud, what are the disadvantages, which customers should go for on-premise and which customers should go for cloud. And last one is SAP S4HANA can be implemented in these three ways. So you can either go through the greenfield implementation project. We will also try to discuss this today, which customers should go for greenfield, which customers will go for system conversion, and what exactly is a landscape transformation, right? So these are the things that we discussed yesterday. What are we going to discuss today is, let me first note down the things that we are going to talk today. So number one, we are going to understand the HANA features. Okay, so we at the end of this session, you should be very clear what is in memory. You should be very clear what is column-based data storage, right? You should be also be very clear about what is HANA calculation engine. Okay, and obviously you should be also able to understand what are aggregates and index tables. Okay, so these are some of the topics that we need to discuss from the HANA point of view. Okay, so HANA is a database. We discussed yesterday, HANA is nothing but it is a database. Now, we don't need to understand each and everything in the database, because that will be taken care by the proper HANA consultants who are coming from the database technical background. But what we need to know is, if someone asks you why HANA, so you should be able to explain them. Let's say if you are playing the role of the pre-sales consultant, maybe today or in the coming years, so it should not happen that you are just saying S4HANA is faster because it uses SAP HANA database. Definitely you should answer in much detail why it is faster, what are the features which are making it very much faster. Okay, so you need to understand in memory. You also need to understand the multi-core processors. There is nothing to understand here, but we will just you should know that what exactly is making it so powerful. Okay, and then we will discuss about different deployment options. What are the different deployment options? So we have on-premise, we have on cloud, or we have the option of hybrid. So we will discuss what are the differences in these three. Finally, we will discuss about the adoption options. Okay, adoption options means you will want to go for the new implementation or the system conversion, or the last one is landscape transformation. This landscape transformation is also called as selective data migration. Okay, I'll tell you why exactly it is called as selective data migration. Okay, so this is in our agenda today. If time permits, we will go with SAP Fiori basics. If not, we will see the Fiori part in the coming sessions. Okay, so let's start with this one now. Let's start with HANA features. So HANA features, we'll start with in memory. Can you tell me what exactly do you mean by in memory? You might have heard that SAP HANA or SAP S4 HANA is an in-memory platform. It is an in-memory database. But what exactly is in memory? What do you mean by in memory? I think yesterday someone answered it correctly. I don't know who was. Any idea? Any one of you? Please unmute yourself and whatever you think, just commit.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes, Gaurav. Yeah, in memory means the data is stored in RAM instead of hard drive so that the
exactly.
processes can run faster.
Right. So simple definition of in memory, what Rahil said is 100% correct. In memory means data is stored in RAM. Okay, so the capability of database to store the data in RAM directly instead of hard disk. I will not say instead of hard disk because I will tell you the other important things related to RAM and hard disk. But the capability to store the data in RAM is called as in-memory computing. So those databases who are capable of storing the data in RAM, those are called as in-memory databases. Now, if you talk about Oracle, if you talk about DB2, if you talk about Microsoft Dynamics, I don't know what is the condition today. Okay, so I'm not commenting anything on the other databases. But previously, before SAP HANA came into picture, if you go before 2011, all these databases, they don't had the in-memory computing features. Okay, and that due to which what was happening is all these traditional databases, they were storing the data in hard disk, right? Now, why it is so important? So if I ask you the simple question, what is the difference between RAM and hard disk? What is your answer? And forget about SAP, forget about HANA. In your laptop, in your mobile, you have both the kinds of memory. You have the RAM also and you have the secondary storage also. So what is the difference between both?
The main
RAM
difference
is the temporary memory, and the hard disk
Mhm.
is like it goes permanently. Once you power off the computer, whatever is stored in the RAM, it goes away.
Okay, perfect. That is correct. What you said is RAM is temporary memory and the hard disk or the secondary storage is the permanent memory. What else?
RAM is fast and hard disk is very slow, and it is very RAM is costlier and hard disk is cheaper as compared to RAM.
All right. So RAM is much faster. You can say 1,000 times faster than hard disk. So let's say if you are trying to access a file which is placed in hard disk vis-a-vis you are accessing the file which is available in RAM, it is 1,000 times faster to access the file, to access the data which is available in RAM, right? So the thing is, we all know RAM is much faster compared to the hard disk, but still we deploy less RAM and more hard disk. What is the reason? I think again Mahesh answered it correctly, because of the price. So hard disk is available at very low cost and RAM is costly. And that is the reason what we normally do is we in the any device, it may be the server, it may be the laptop, it may be the desktop, we have limited RAM and we can have maximum hard disk, right? Because we want to reduce the cost of our devices. At the same time, another point which I think sorry, I forgot who mentioned that. He said the problem with RAM is it is the temporary memory. It is not a permanent memory. And what is the problem with the temporary memory? The problem is whenever the power goes off, there is a risk that all the data will be vanished. Okay, so see there are some benefits of RAM. but there are some drawbacks of RAM. What are the benefits of RAM? Benefits are it is faster. Okay, what are the problems? Problem is it is temporary, plus it is costly. So that is the reason most of the old databases, whichever were developed before 2011, okay, I'm not saying HANA is the only in-memory database. There were many other databases which are also providing in-memory capabilities before HANA also. But if I talk about the major database vendors which we were using with SAP like Oracle, DB2, Microsoft SQL, all these databases, because of the challenges with RAM, they were preferring to store the data in the hard disk, right? Now, what SAP has done is, when SAP thought of coming up with their own database, they tried to solve these issues with the temporary memory. Okay, so what they have done is they came up with the solution where even if the power goes off, right? Even if the power goes off, your data will not get vanished. Okay, so this is a technical concept. It will be difficult for us to digest all these things, but there is one cache memory in between. Okay, between your hard disk and your RAM, there is something called as cache memory. What is the purpose of that cache memory is, as soon as the transaction is done in RAM, it will be also copied to the hard disk immediately, right? There will be some temporary storage in the cache also. So there is no chance of data loss, even if you are storing the data in RAM in HANA database, right? So that problem is already solved. Now the problem is only with the price. Now, definitely, we are not saying price is also reduced. If you compare the price of RAM from last 20 years, definitely the prices of RAM are not much costlier than what it was available earlier. There was a huge difference between RAM and hard disk earlier. Nowadays, you can see even the RAM, very good amount of RAM is available on the mobile devices also. The reason is the RAM prices has decreased a lot, right? But again, we are still not saying that hard disk and RAM will cost you the same thing. There is a huge difference between the two. But the thing is, if a customer wants the speed, then definitely they have to invest more money in terms of RAM. Okay, and again, the problem is, if I ask you the simple question, currently my customer is using 100 or let's say 1 TB of data. Currently, our customer is using SAP system with Oracle database, which is having 1 TB of data. Okay, 1 TB of data. Now, if I ask this customer to migrate to HANA database, okay, and Oracle was storing all this 1 TB of data in the hard disk. If I move to SAP HANA, how much of RAM do I need? Can you tell me how much RAM would be required to store the data?
Maybe half of that 500 GB.
One-eighth, one-eighth.
Okay, how you made these calculations? So one said half, second said 1/8. How you made these calculations? You just came up with the calculation, but can you just explain why do you think it will take half or why it will take 1/8?
SAP HANA feature is that it will reduce the storage. So it will compress the data.
Yes, you are right. So what exactly will be done if you go for SAP HANA, okay, irrespective of RAM or hard disk, when you go to SAP HANA, there is lot of tables. We already know there are a lot of tables which are going to be removed in S4 HANA. Okay, so there are two different things. Firstly, let's talk about HANA, then we'll talk about S4 HANA. So if you just replace your database from Oracle to HANA, what will happen is tables will still remain same because you are using ECC system, and in ECC system, even if you use HANA database, your tables will not get changed, right? Which means same tables will be used, but the very important thing here is the data will be stored in the compressed form. If you are using HANA database stores the data in the compressed form. Okay, So when you say compressed form, what is a compression? I think we don't need the explanation on that. What is compression? If you have a 1 MB file or 10 MB file which you want to send via mail, but let's say your organizations only allow the file up to 3 MB, what we normally do, we do the
we do the
compression.
zip drive, zip the file and send it.
We go for zip or we go for RAR file. What exactly it will do? It will just compress that data so that it can be transferred. Now this same concept is available in HANA database, which means if you are using Oracle and if you are using, let's say 1 TB of data, if you migrate to SAP HANA, because the data is going to be compressed, automatically the size would be reduced. Now it totally depends upon customer to customer, but what Mahesh said is the average figure, which is told by SAP, 1/8 of the data, right? So, which means out of 1 TB of data, let's say you will be only left with, let's assume 1/5 also, then also 200 GB of data will be left. So out of 1 TB, now you are only talking about 200 GB. So do you think we need 200 GB of RAM to store the data? Okay, so we are saying would be reduced to 200 GB due to compression. Okay, and next question is, in that case, do you need 200 GB of RAM to store this data? Yes, no?
No.
No need,
No need. Why no
because
need?
maybe all of it need not be in RAM. Maybe some of it can go to some. We don't use it, maybe, so we keep it in hard disk. We don't use it frequently. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so question number 1. I said SAP HANA is in-memory database. When I say in-memory, it means data is stored in the RAM. So do you think that storing the data in hard disk is still possible in HANA? Is it possible to store the data in hard disk even on HANA database?
Yes, that's correct.
Possible?
Yes, possible.
Yes, there is a hard disk. Yes.
Right. So even if we are saying that it is an in-memory database, please understand this, because normally in the market, if you ask someone, they will say HANA has RAM, then why we need hard disk? See, we cannot do anything without hard disk. Hard disk is definitely required. There is one additional layer which is required as RAM. So whatever data is going to be stored in RAM, the copy is also going to be created in hard disk, right? And that is the reason hard disk is still there. Even if you are using in-memory database, hard disk will be still there in the background. So now what Nandu said is correct. He said we don't need 200 GB of RAM. We can divide total 200 GB of data. We can say, okay, only partial data we want to keep it on RAM. Okay, so the question is how much data you want to keep on RAM. So just take an example. Let's say this customer who is using 1 TB of data has 5 years of data in the system. This customer is using SAP from last 5 years. So out of which, what do you think? How much data you will keep it on RAM? The logic is, yeah, go ahead.
No, what I mean is it's based on how you're accessing the system. So what are you're accessing the system, those tables or that information is in RAM, rest of them in hard disk.
Right. Yes. So what the question is, how much data to store in RAM? So the simple answer is what data you need on day-to-day reporting. Okay, so for example, we are saying why we need RAM, why we are talking about in-memory database, to increase the speed. What speed you want to increase? I want to increase the transactional speed so that I can do the transactions faster. So for transaction related, you are creating data. There is no question of data to be stored on RAM or hard disk, right? The question is, what about the reports? If you are generating the reports, your reports also should be faster. So on the day-to-day basis, If I ask you the simple question, what are the reports? Whenever you are generating the reports on day-to-day basis, these reports will be for which period normally? It will be current period, current year, max to max, current year minus 1 year, right? From the financials point of view, you generate your current year report, you compare it with the last year report, right? So these 2 years, you want to keep the data in RAM because most of your reports will be generated in this last 2 years of data, right? If you keep this 2 years of data in RAM, your current year reporting and previous year reporting, which is most common reports that you are going to generate in the system, those will become faster. What about the other data then? What about the remaining 3 years of data? What about the data which is 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old? So for that data, it is still in the system. Only thing is we are not replicating in RAM. So it will take more time compared to the data which is stored in RAM. So, which means if I have 200 GB of total data, it is not necessary that I need 200 GB of RAM. I can manage this in maybe 20 GB of RAM also. I will only store that data which is relevant to the current year minus 1 year. Maybe 200 GB, sorry, out of 200 GB, it can be 50 GB, it can be 60 GB. Totally depends upon how much data you want to keep it on RAM. So understand one thing, there is another miscommunication or another confusion in the market that if I have 1 TB of data in my old database, I need 1 TB of RAM. If SAP says that, nobody will go for SAP HANA database, right? So if you have 1 TB of data, max to max, you need around 50 GB of RAM. Okay, even lesser than that. I'll give you one example which is shared by SAP. Okay, so I'll show you. It is an example of the actual customer where they clearly said what was his total database size. When they migrated to HANA, what was the database size? And then when they migrated to S4 HANA, how their database size has been decreased and how much data or how much memory you need on RAM, right? So we are not talking about replace everything on the hard disk with the RAM. We are only talking about the data that you need on day-to-day basis. Only that data you keep it on RAM. Other data can be stored in hard disk and it will be used for the reporting purpose. Reportings can still be done on the hard disk also, but obviously the data which is stored in RAM which provide you faster results. Clear on this? So we don't need.
Hi, Vikram, this is Devendra.
Yes.
I have small question. How it makes a difference on the different deployment, like the on premises and cloud. So how this is like it can be seen with these two perspectives.
No, there is, see, on cloud or on premise, that has nothing to do with the HANA or sorry, there has nothing to do with the RAM and hard disk.
RAM.
So,
Okay.
irrespective of whether you are using on premise or on cloud, you have to take a decision how much data you want to keep it on RAM and how much data you want to keep it on hard disk in both the cases.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Okay, so we don't need to store all the data. We only store data which is required
For day-to-day business.
on day-to-day basis, day-to-day reporting.
Right.
It means ki it is depend on company to company. Some company will keep the data for 3 years. Some company maybe want to keep the data for 5 years.
Yes, yes, yes. So there is a rule, like you do archiving today, right? Archiving is different company to company, right? Some companies will say, I want to archive the data which is 5 years old. Some company will say, I want to archive the data which is 10 years old. So it is up to company what data they want to move from RAM to hard disk. Okay, only difference, see, you can treat this like a archiving. Only difference between archiving and moving the data from RAM to hard disk is when you archive, the data is going completely out of the system. You cannot do the reporting for that data because it is archived and it is completely out of your SAP system. But when you say moving the data from RAM to hard disk, it is still available in your system. It can be still used for the reporting purpose. Only thing is the data which is available in RAM, which give you faster results, the data which is available in hard disk will be slower compared to RAM. Okay, this
It means
functionality.
in our company sometimes auditor will come and they will run the revenue GL account for whole the year. Let's suppose starting from the till date. In that
Right.
case, it will be slow. Let's suppose
Yes,
we
if you are executing the reports which are where the data is not stored in RAM, then definitely comparatively it will be slow. But again, if you compare this with ECC, compared to ECC, even your historical data will be executed faster. Okay, why?
okay.
Because data is stored in the compressed form. If it is compressed form, then whenever you are generating the report, the selection is happening from the less amount of data. So if you compare with ECC, even the data which is stored in hard disk, that will also give you the faster results. RAM will give you even faster results. Clear? So this term, what is a term that we are using to move the data from RAM to hard disk is called as, so moving the data from RAM to hard disk is called as data aging. Okay, similar to data archiving, there is something called as data aging. So not normally what happens is this RAM is called as hot area. Okay, because you are storing the fresh data into the RAM, and hard disk is called as cold area because you are storing the historical data in the hard disk. So moving the data from hot area to cold area is called as data aging. Okay, so every now and then, if you want to reduce the consumption of RAM, you have to execute the data aging, which is again the task of basis similar to archiving. So what they will do is they will ask you which data you want to move from RAM to hard disk. You can just tell them that, okay, if it is a FI document, it should be migrated to the hard disk once it is older than 2 years. So current year minus 1 year, whatever data is left, move it to the hard disk.
It depend on it is moving from fiscal year to fiscal year or something like functional area wise.
It is the logic that you can define. You can define those logics. You can tell the system how you want to move the data, which data, what kind of data, what type of document types you want to move. All those logics can be written.
Okay.
Okay, but most probably, if you don't want to go into that much complications, you can simply say the posting date more than 2 years old. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So what we understood is what is in memory. In memory means storing the data directly in RAM. This functionality was not available in the previous databases that SAP was using, right? So in order to move the data, it is even in SAP HANA database, it is very much possible to store the data in hard disk. Okay, so in-memory computing doesn't only means the data will be stored on RAM. In-memory means data can be stored in RAM in addition to hard disk, right? So whenever you are implementing SAP HANA, I'm not talking about S4 HANA till now. I'm just talking about the HANA database. So whenever your customer is using traditional database and they want to migrate to SAP HANA, there is something called as data sizing. Okay, the technical consultants, they perform the data sizing. Now, what exactly is sizing? What they will do is they will run one program in your current system. Okay, so if you are using Oracle, they will run one program, and that program will give you the report. That report will tell you how much RAM should be deployed for this customer, how much RAM should be used in order to store the data in HANA for this particular customer. So sizing means what? Sizing means customer will need a separate hardware to implement HANA database, right? Your current hardware may not support HANA. There is a separate hardware requirement for SAP HANA database. So your current servers, whatever you are using, may not support HANA database. So whenever a customer is buying HANA database, he need to make some decisions. Like whenever I'm buying HANA or the hardware which is required for the HANA database, how much RAM I should buy, how much hard disk I should buy. This is called as sizing. Okay, similar to when you buy the computer, you need to decide how much RAM I want, how much hard disk I want. Similarly, for HANA, you need to make the decision how much RAM is required, how much hard disk is required. But how will you know? How a customer will know whether I should go for 20 GB RAM or I should go for 50 GB RAM? So that is provided to you by SAP. SAP will run some programs in your system and it will propose you that this is the amount of RAM that you will need if you want to migrate to HANA database. Again, this is all technical. We don't need to go into that much detail, but you should understand that how exactly the things are happening in the background. Right? So HANA supports in-memory computing. In-memory computing is storing the data in RAM as well as hard disk. You don't need entire data to be stored in hard disk. You will only store current data. Current data means normally current year minus one previous year. Only this data you will be storing on the RAM. Other data you can move it to the hard disk. The process of moving the data from the RAM to the hard disk is called as data aging. Okay. Any questions till now? Have you understood what is in-memory computing now? Okay. So in-memory is very clear. This single definition, data is stored in RAM. But one another important thing that we understood here is compression. How HANA achieves compression? Why compression was not possible in the traditional databases? Why Oracle was not doing the compression? Why the DB2, SQL, they were not able to achieve the compression? How
Is
we can
it
achieve?
because of the data stored in the column wise instead of the row that helps to compress the data?
Exactly. So we come to the second point. So compression is only possible when you store the data in the columnar form, right? What do you mean by the columnar form now? So when we say columnar form, columnar database storage. So first functionality, first benefit of storing the data in the column-based form is compression. It supports compression. All other databases, whatever traditional databases we were using with SAP, they were storing the data in the form of rows. Okay, now this is technical. What is row, what is column? Maybe I should show you one example in the Excel sheet. But again, technically in the background, how exactly it works, it is very technical. Okay, so just give me a minute. Let me open the Excel. Okay, so let me put down some of the examples here. So let's say there is a table. Okay, let's say this is a table called as employee table. Normally I give this example. So employee table, what information it has? It has employee code. Okay, it has a name, it has date of birth, or maybe year of birth. I don't want to enter all these details. Year of birth, year of joining the organization, okay, and current location. Okay, this is a simple employee table. I will enter some list here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Name, I'll just write A, B, C, D. Okay, year of birth, let's say 1980, 1970, 1975, and 1995. Okay, so these are the 4 employees with year of birth. Year of joining the organization, 2001, 2008, 2000, and 2018. Okay, and location, again, I'll just write XYZ something. So this is the simple table which consists of only 5 columns. Now, how this data, see, when we go to the table, how we see the table, we can go to transaction SE11 or SE16. We are always able to see the data in the row as well as column form. It is a combination of rows and columns. Table itself is a combination of rows and columns. So these are our columns and these are our rows, right? But internally, when it comes to the data storage in the database, data is not stored in both the forms. Data is either stored in row or it is stored in the column-based form. So how the data is stored in the row-based form? This complete row will become one record. Okay, so the data is stored in this one, maybe any separator. So I'll use this one. Then A, another separator, 1980, 2001, and X. So this is one record. Okay, similarly, second line will be second record. Second row will be second record. So 2B, 1970, 2008, and Y. Similarly, 3C, 1975, 2000, X. Last one, 4D, 1995, 2018, and X. Right, this is how the data is stored when we are using row-based data storage in the background. Okay, there is no such transaction where you can go and see how exactly the data is stored in the database, because if you are using SE11, SE16, and it is always showing us row plus column. It is not showing only row or only column. But when the data is stored in the column-based form, the difference is one column will become one record. So 1, 2, 3, 4. A, B, C, D. Okay, 1980, 1970, 1975, and 1995. Similarly, 2001, 2008, 2000, 2018 once again. Lastly, X, Y. Okay, the big picture for compression comes here, X and X. I'll show you what is compression also first, but first we will not talk about compression. We will talk about another benefit of column-based, which is faster query processing. Okay, so which means now simple, if you want to generate the report, okay, so select, I want employee number or employee code / year of joining the organization from employees table. See, this is a simple report. We carry out this kind of reporting on day-to-day basis, right? We only want to see these two columns in the report, employee code and year of joining. If I execute this report, okay, and if the data is stored in the row-based form, what will happen is system will go and scan this complete record, because columns are not separated here. Even if I want to get one column out of it, system will go and scan this complete record. Okay, so it will scan like this, then second line, then third line, then fourth line. So even if I want only 2 columns out of the table of 5 columns, system is still scanning all the 5 columns. Now just think about it with the tables with 200, 300, 400 columns. So if I have 400 columns here in a table or 300 columns in a table, what will happen is even if I'm looking for 2 or 3 columns in my report, it will still take the same amount of time which is required to scan 300 columns. Okay, that is the reason row-based data storage is very slow. What is the benefit of column-based then? If I store the data in the column-based form, what it will do is it will never scan these 3 columns which are not required in my report. It will only go and scan these 2 columns. It will easily go here and it will easily go to this place. It will never touch these other columns which have nothing to do with the query, because those columns are not asked in that particular report. So think about it. Let's say I have the report or I have the table which has 300 columns, and out of these 300 columns, I want 20 columns in my report. Let's assume, just for the assumption sake, let's assume that each column to scan, it takes 1 millisecond. So how much time it will take to generate a report if I'm using row-based data storage? It will scan all 300 records, which means 300 milliseconds. But if I'm storing this data in the column-based form, then it will never go and see how many columns are there in the table. It will just go and find out only those, it will only scan those records, those columns which are asked in the report. So it will take only 20 milliseconds. This is another benefit of storing the data in the form of columns. Okay, so number one, it provides you faster reporting, faster query processing, because only those columns will be scanned which are used in the report. Second important thing which we discussed already is compression. When you store the data in the column-based form, whatever this data is stored, this gets stored in the compressed form. Now, what is compression? So I'll give you one example here. See, what is happening here is there are X value is repeating 3 times. Okay, so X is just a single value, no problem. But let's assume that there is one big text. For example, maybe let's talk about country. So there is a country column, India, US, UK, US. Okay, so let's say these are the 5 records. Now you know that more the length of a particular field, system will take more space in the database. Okay, so what this compression does is, for each column it will create one code. So India, let's say, will be given 1. Okay, US will be given 2, UK will be given 3. So every time the data is stored in the database, it will not be stored in the raw form. Okay, system will create the index key for each and every column, or each and every unique value, and that unique value will be stored in the database, right? Which means you can see 10, 10, 20, sorry, 5, 5, 10, and 16. So if it takes 16 KB of data, let's assume one character is one character is 1 KB. So 16 KB of data can be reduced to 5 KB. Okay, and more the data, more will be the reduction. In this example, it is nothing much, it is around 3 times. But more the data, you only need to store this information once. You will be able to see a lot of compression. So this is possible only with the column database. So if you are storing the data in the column-based form, you are getting 2 things. What are those 2 things? It supports compression as well as faster query processing, which helps in faster reporting. Okay, so faster query processing is providing you faster reporting. What about compression? Compression helps in saving cost, which is very important for the companies. They don't need much hard disk, they don't need much RAM. They will be able to save the cost of hardware. Okay, they will need less memory to store the data. Obviously, I'm not saying the memory is cheap. Memory is comparatively, RAM is definitely costlier. But the thing is, you don't need that much RAM. You need only partial RAM. Clear on this now? Now you understood what is columnar database storage, what is the benefit of column-based data storage. Any questions till now in understanding in-memory and column-based data storage?
SAP HANA is still column and row based. Na? Both are facilities available in HANA.
Yes, SAP HANA supports both. You can see whatever SAP standard tables are there, they are already converted to column based. But whenever you are creating your Z tables, you are still getting the option whether you want to store the data in the rows or in the columns. But most of SAP standard tables, they are already saving the data in the column-based form. How can you check that? Let me just show you one example. So I'm connecting to the server just to show you this particular thing. So if you go to SE11 and check any table, I'm checking this AC docket table, click on display, technical settings. See, this is where you'll be able to see how the data is stored, column, row, or undefined. So most of the cases, undefined means column. So if you are not defining, it will automatically assume that you want to store in the column-based form. But most of the SAP tables, you name any table, you come here and see, it will show you that by default the data is getting stored in column-based. Right? So whenever you are creating any Z table, you will get an option whether you want to store in rows or columns. But it is recommended that if the table is very small, if there are few number of columns, you are only expecting some rows, then you can go for rows. But if the data is huge, you should always use column-based data storage. Okay, so you are right. If the question comes or if someone is asking you, the answer is whether SAP HANA supports only column, is it supports row as well as column.
One question, Vikram.
Yes, tell me.
Yeah. Query processing is faster in columnar DB, so we get quicker reporting. Whereas on the other hand, when you store a transaction, when I'm storing a sales order, in a row based, I only need to go to particular 2 tables or 3 tables. Like I can store only in 2-3 places. Whereas in columnar storage, I have to store in 100 places because I have to go to each column and store now, right?
No,
So
not really. Table is only one. See, table is only one. Ultimately, we are not talking about multiple tables. We are talking about single table, how the data is stored, right?
Yeah, in your Excel sheet, the table is one, but if in the Excel sheet, if you go, see if it is row based to store one sales order, I have to go to only one row, finished. But if it's column based, I have to go to each column and store.
No. What will happen is whenever you create this data, whenever you enter this data, this will automatically get stored in this form. That is the only difference. It doesn't need to go into different columns one by one. It will just go and save here automatically. So see, definitely I also heard somewhere that the transactional processing is little bit slower compared to like if you go for column based, your transactional processing will become little bit slower compared to row based. But there are other ways through which SAP already made sure that the transaction processing is faster, right? What are those ways? In memory itself. So if I compare ECC with S4 HANA, what will happen is in ECC, I was using the traditional database, which means the data was going into the hard disk. When I was doing the transaction, let's say if I was taking 5 seconds to perform one transaction, now with HANA database, if I have HANA database in the background, then because of in memory, it is able to do in 1 second. Now, even in HANA, if I store the data in the row-based form, then maybe transaction processing can be even reduced to 0.5 seconds. But still, I'm getting that 4 times benefit of storing the data faster because of in-memory computing. So it is a combination of both, which is making it faster.
Agreed. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, so SAP HANA supports both row as well as column-based data storage.
Vikram, this is Devendra again. Just want to ask through one example. Like in my organization, what my client ask for, like in every quarter or every 6 months, they ask for the data from BKPF and BSEC table, both tables for their audit requirement. Like for example, say
Okay.
they need to submit the data for to PwC audit firm. So
Mhm.
basically, BKPF table, we don't have any issue, like we get the data very faster in ECC. But in
Mhm.
for to retrieve the data from BSEC table, it takes a huge time, and sometimes the system throws an error of ABAP runtime, right? Because of the
That
huge
is a that
volume
is
of.
a
Huh,
yeah, that is the reason even BSEC table is not recommended to be used for the reports also.
right, right. So
Right.
I'm just comparing, like if same kind of data, to retrieval of the data from HANA database. So
Mhm.
like what we discussed, so it will become easier to cope up the or to overcome the problem, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Because see, I'll tell you why BSEC was taking a lot of time.
Uh-huh.
Number one,
Line
for
item.
each document, BPF has only one line for
Right,
each document, right? And BSEC can have up to 999 lines. So take an
right.
average
Mm-hmm.
also maybe 10, 15 lines per document. So
Per
this is
document.
about the records. Now let's talk about the columns. In BKPF, how many columns we have? I think maybe 70, 80, less than 100.
Yes,
Okay, and BSEC, we have more than 200 columns.
correct.
So the same example that we have seen, if we are taking the data from BSEC, which has 200 columns, even if we are taking only 20 columns out of it, it will still take the time of extracting the 200 columns because it was using row-based data storage.
Right,
Now with column-based data storage, we don't need to worry about the number of columns. Let it be 500 columns. That is the reason they came up with a new table, AC.A. If you see the number of columns, it is more than 350 columns and extendable. So you
okay.
activate some functionality, it will add some columns in AC.A. You activate account-based COPA, it will add some columns in AC.A. But they are not worried now. Even if it is 500 columns, we don't need to worry because we are using column-based data storage. So yes, the answer is BSEG was slow. The basic reason was there were many number of columns, there were many number of rows, and that is the reason it was slow. But now when we
Right,
are talking about SAP HANA column-based data storage, we definitely don't need to worry about the number of columns. And that is the
column.
reason even BSEG is still available in S4 HANA also. Okay, we are not
Mhm.
saying BSEG is gone. BSEG is still there, and you can extract the data from the BSEG also much faster compared to the traditional because of
Traditional
column-based data storage.
column based. Right. Got it. Thanks, Vikram.
Okay, anything else you want to clarify?
Yeah, it's okay. Vikram. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, let's go and see what are the other topics. So we discussed about in memory. What is multi-core processor? I don't think we need the discussion on this. So if you remember, I just now told you SAP HANA requires its own hardware. So it is not like you have the hardware available, you have the server available, and you can just install like you were installing Oracle or any other database. For SAP HANA, there is a separate licensed software required. Sorry, licensed hardware required. And you might have heard there are a lot of vendors. Earlier there were only 7-8 vendors, but nowadays there are a lot of certified vendors of SAP HANA. So most popular are HP and then Fujitsu. These are the trusted vendors which most of the companies are going with. Even Lenovo, Dell, I think also provides the certified HANA hardware. So what is the certified HANA hardware? How it is different than the normal hardware that we were using? Hardware means what? The PC, the server which can where you can install the database. Right. So the hardware requirements, SAP has made sure that the hardware that you are going to use to install HANA, that must be capable enough to perform the processing faster. And which hardwares are certified? Only those hardwares which are using latest of functionalities. Okay, so what is multi-core? I can see laptop. When you buy the laptop, you can buy Core 2 Duo also. You can buy i3 also, i4, i5, i7. There are many different versions of Intel which are available in the market. Now, definitely, if you compare Core 2 Duo with i7, you will find a lot of difference. Why? because ISA1 uses multi-core processors. What do you mean by multi-core processors? Multi-core processors means multiple processors who will be doing the job parallelly. So if you are using 10 different applications on your laptop, there will be less hanging in between. If you are using Core 2 Duo and you open 10 applications, your system will become too slow. Right? So what is multi-core processing? Multi-core processing means multiple users, multiple transactions can happen at the same time without the speed issues. Right? So when you are going for SAP HANA database, the certified hardware, which is certified by SAP, it uses multi-core processors. So you have to install the hardware which has multi-core processors, and it is to provide you the speed. Okay, so SAP HANA uses multi-core processors, due to which it is possible to do multiple activities at the same time, the concept called as parallelization. So that is another question which may be asked to you, what is parallelization? So parallelization means multiple activities can be done at once. Okay, the examples are MRP in SAP. Okay, from the logistics point of view, one of the very important processes is MRP. MRP was taking around 8 hours earlier. If you run the MRP process in the manufacturing company where they have a lot of materials, it was taking up to 8 hours. But with this concept of parallelization, with the concept of SAP HANA, with the concept of multi-core processors in memory, all coming together, it has been reduced now to minutes. Out of 8 hours, it has been reduced to minutes. Okay, there are separate discussions on that. We don't want to go for what is MRP and what is MRP lab, but I'm just giving you the example how SAP has made the use of the hardware which are available in the market, and they are trying to give you the best of hardware and software combination, which will reduce the time and you'll be able to process your transactions in much faster way. Right? So that is multi-core processor. Apart from this one, HANA calculation engine and this index and aggregate tables, we will try to understand now. Okay, so before I tell you what is a calculation engine, I think yesterday someone told what is the aggregates. Yesterday someone has gave me the example of aggregates. Can you tell me what do you mean by aggregates?
It's nothing but totals.
Aggregate is totals, right?
Yes.
Aggregate and index. I'll just write aggregates. So in SAP ECC, there are many aggregate tables. Can you give me some examples of aggregate tables, which is also called as totals tables?
Flexa,
BS
flex.
Flex.
New GL table, flex, FAGL,
FAGL, FLEXT,
FLX.
FAGL, FLEXA.
FAGL, FLEXA is a totals. It is not a totals, right? Fagel Flexa is a line level table. Fagel FlexT is a totals table. If you are using classic GL accounting, then if you use classic GL accounting, there is a table GLT0. GLT0 is a table for classic GL accounting. Okay, from AR and AP point of view, there are tables like KNC3, KNA3, I think. We will verify later on. LFC3. What are these tables? Vendor balances. Okay, let me show you in the system directly, just to verify whether we are going for the right table. So KNA3, I think. No. KNC3, sorry, KNC3. Yes. So KNC3, if I just execute it, so you can see it is giving you the balance carry forward, total current year debits, total current year credits. I think KNC1 also. Yeah. So let me tell you what exactly these two tables are. We use transaction FD10N to check the vendor balance, sorry, customer balances, right? When you execute this report, okay, you will get two different sections, one for normal transactions, second for special GL transactions. So let me see which customer I can take here. Let's try. Let's go for 1710. I don't know whether there is data or not. I'm just trying. At least I should be able to show you the sections. Those are not appearing. Okay, so maybe I'll go to the table itself directly, and from there I'll take one customer. So let's execute this. No, there is no data. Anyways, we will see this in detail later on. So what happens is whenever you generate the customer balance or vendor balance report, you remember there are two sections. One is normal balance, second is special transactions, special GL transactions. So KNC1 is the table which stores the normal balances, and KNC3 stores the balances of the special GL account. So these are also the totals tables. Okay, so I'm just giving you examples as of now. Okay, so KNC3, LFC3, KNC1, and LFC1. These are the different tables which are storing the details of totals. In SAP ECC itself, there are some index tables. Can you tell me which are those index tables? Again, someone told it yesterday.
BSID,
AD.
BSIS, BSES,
PSID,
BSID,
AD.
BSAD,
PSIK, PSAK.
Right? These are the examples of the index tables. Now, coming to the Devendra's question. Sometime back, Devendra asked one question. BSEG is taking a lot of time. What was the answer? We told BSEG is taking a lot of time because it has many number of columns. What is the solution? If I want to do my reporting, I want to do the GL based reporting. Okay, so for example, if I go to FBL 3N report, in FBL 3N report, I am able to see the GL line items which are already available in BSEG, right? But if I ask that information from BSEG, your FBL 3N report will take a lot of time. Okay, sometimes even you will get memory overlap or error or something like that, right? So after 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you will get an error that you are not able to get the data. So why SAP created these index tables? The same reason. SAP has created the copy of BSEG. They created the subset of BSEG. If SAP already knows that customers, they want the GL level reporting. In BSEG, if I have 200 columns, but in the reports, they are only looking for 10 columns. So what they have done is they created a copy of BSEG in BSIS. So open items BSIS, cleared items BSAS. Similarly for vendor, customer, they created BSID, BSIK, BSAD, BSAK. Right? So these tables, the whole purpose of these tables is just to make sure that nobody goes and query from BSEG table. If you want the data, you can go get it from BSIS, BSAS. Don't go to BSEG directly because BSEG is having a lot of columns. Right? But what is the problem with this? Definitely you will be getting faster reporting. You'll go to BSIS, you will get faster reporting. You go to BSIK, you will be getting faster report. But what is the problem? They are creating unnecessarily. Is it not creating additional data? If I have all the data available in BSEG, then again I am creating the copies of BSEG and storing in all these different tables. Is it not the duplication?
Yes, we need to go to every table individually, like to retrieve the data. So like going to
No,
BSEC
that is
solves all
also
problem.
fine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that is also fine. You can go to different tables. That is again another challenge. But
Mm-hmm.
most importantly, what about the redundancy? What about the duplication? Same information stored in different forms in 10 different tables.
Right.
Whatever information is available in BSIS, I can easily get in BSEC. Then why do I need two separate places to hold the data? This is only to make sure that your reporting is faster, right? At the cost of memory. Your memory is unnecessarily having the same data stored multiple times. Think about your mobile device. You have one song, full song, and then you know, okay, it is taking a lot of time to execute that song. So let's create a copy, 5 seconds of song, 10 different places. So it is unnecessarily occupying your memory. Same song is stored 2 times, 3 times in your memory, which is cost to the company, right? Why this was required? There was only one problem. This was only required because of the row-based data storage that we had in ECC. BSEG, in ECC itself, if BSEG is having column-based, then there was no need of these tables, right? And that is the reason in SAP S4HANA, what SAP has done is, they said no need of these tables anymore. These tables are not there in S4HANA. These tables are not there in S4HANA. These tables are completely gone. No aggregates, no indexes. These tables are completely removed. Why? Because there is no need. You go to the table, even if there are 400 columns, you take the data from there, no problem. Right? We don't need any index. We don't need any aggregates in S4HANA. Okay. Now the problem is then, if Faggle FlexT is not available, Faggle FlexT is holding the totals, right? It is not only holding the data, it is holding the totals. So if I want the balance of this GL account with combination of this profit center with this segment, right? I can go to Faggle FlexT and get the data. So I get the totals. I not get line by line data. I get the totals. But now even this total table is not required. Why the total table was required? Let me tell you one thing again in Excel. If I have this data, this is my account number. Okay, this is my account number. And this is my amount. Okay, so I'll repeat this so that there is a concept of total. Okay, this is amount, 100, 500, whatever. Okay, so this is the data. Now this data, this is line-wise data. This is already available in which table? Faggle Flexa, line-wise information. Then why do I need Faggle FlexT if this data is already available in Faggle Flexa? I can go to Faggle Flexa. I can say I want to make the total of this GL account. So it will go and it will make this total, and it will tell you this is the total balance, right? This one and this one. Why do I need the totals tables? Why do I need the aggregate tables? The reason is, in the traditional databases like Oracle, Microsoft SQL, the calculation engine, if I tell the system to perform this calculation, it will take hours. If I tell the system to go each time whenever I'm generating the balance sheet, whenever I'm generating the profit and loss reports, it may take not hours, but it will take a lot of time to perform this calculation, because the calculation engine which is responsible to perform this calculation is not that much strong in SAP traditional databases. In S4HANA, what SAP has done is they said no more totals tables. This data will not be stored in totals table anymore. Whenever you have a requirement, system will go and perform the calculation. How it is possible? SAP has provided with SAP HANA a very powerful calculation engine, which will perform these calculations, even billions of records. If you tell him and just go and fetch the totals, it will be in milliseconds, right? So SAP HANA also provides you the functionality of HANA calculation engine, very powerful calculation engine, which will perform the calculations in much faster way compared to the traditional ECC system or traditional databases. So there is no need of totals tables. There is no need of index tables. Okay, so let me write it here. Why? So in SAP ECC, there are many aggregate tables which are also called as totals tables. Why they were required? These were required because traditional DB was not providing calculation engine, but it was not powerful calculation engine. So calculations you can do in Oracle also. I'm not saying it is not possible, but it is not that much strong. Okay, now in S4 HANA, there is no need of aggregate tables anymore, as HANA provides a very strong calculation engine. Okay, same way in SAP ECC, there are many index tables. Why these were required? These were required to create a copy of main tables like BSIG, so that reportings can become faster, right? So these were the subsets. To require the subsets instead of copy, I'll say subsets, so that the reporting can become faster. Now in S4, since we are using column-based data storage, there is no need of indexes. Clear? Why there is no need of aggregates? Why there is no need of indexes? No need of aggregates because of HANA powerful calculation engine. No need of indexes because of column-based data storage. Clear? Now I'll ask you one thing. If Fagel FlexT was used in SAP ECC, customers are using SAP ECC from last 10 years. Let's take an example of one customer who is using SAP from last 10 years. And he has made lot of Z developments. He has created lot of Z reports. And many Z reports are created on this table, Fagel FlexT. Now he is migrating to S4 HANA. This customer wants to migrate to S4 HANA. There are 20 reports. There are 20 reports which are trying to get the data from Fagel FlexT. What will happen to that report? Will it work in S4 HANA?
Yes,
Yes,
it
it
will
should
work,
work.
Fagel FlexT table is no more available.
but it will be changed to views. So it's still
Yes.
available.
You mean to say reports will work?
Yes.
Okay. So let's assume first. Let's assume that you go to customer and tell him we have made a lot of changes in S4 HANA. All the tables are deleted. There are only few tables available. And if a customer says, okay, what will happen to my custom object? We don't know. You have to rewrite. Okay, because anyways, in SAP, there are no old tables available. So you have to rewrite all your custom code. You have to adjust all the custom code that you have written. So do you think the customer will go for S4 HANA in that case? He will say
No.
from last 10 years, my
No.
ABAP team has done a lot of work. Right? They have done a lot of Z developments, and now you are saying we need to start again everything from scratch. This is not going to work, right? SAP knows
Yes.
that it is not going to work, and that is the reason they need to come up with some solution, right? So what they have done is they said, okay, Pagel FlexT is not available as a table anymore. Okay, which means there will not be any data stored in these tables. But whenever someone comes and asks any information from Pagel FlexT, whenever you generate a report, whenever you are executing a report, and if it is trying to get the data from FagleFlexT, FagleFlexT will not say no, I don't have data. What FagleFlexT will do is, it will automatically go to the right table, pick the information and give it to the user. Okay, so let me draw this here. So let's say can I draw the user here? So let's say this is a user. He's trying to generate a report. Okay, he's executing the report from the system. So let's say this is a system, SAP, or this is a table. Okay, user is trying to ask the system to provide the report, and he is trying to get this data from FagleFlexT table. Okay, now what will happen if this this table is no more available? Normally, it will result in error, or this user will get the information that there is no such data available in the system, right? But if that happens, then there is a lot of rework required and customer will never go for S4HANA. So what SAP has done is, this FagleFlexT will automatically, okay, even the user will not come to know what is happening in the background. FagleFlexT will automatically go and fetch this information
From ACID, okay.
from ACID, or maybe any other table which is holding this data. Okay, so ACID, it will fetch the information. It will give it to the FagleFlexT, and then FagleFlexT will fetch this information and give it back to the user. So as a user, I'm not bothered. I'm asking the information from FagleFlexT. FagleFlexT is still giving me the information. Okay, but in the background, what is the memory consumption of this FagleFlexT? 0 KB, 0 MB, 0 GB. No data is stored in FagleFlexT. Okay, this is called as view. This concept is called as CDS view. So FagleFlexT is converted from table to CDS view. What is CDS? CDS stands for Core Data Services. Okay, Core Data Services. There are different names which are given. You can call just a view, you can call it a CDS view, you can call it as a HANA view, but it is one and the same thing. Okay, how can you check this, whether this FagleFlexT is still available in SAP or not? Let's go and see. If I go to SE16N and try this table, FagleFlexT, you can see it is still available, but it is clearly written. This is a compatible view, CDS view. Okay, if you ask any information, it will still give you the information. Oh, as of now, there is no data. That is the reason it is not giving. When we'll post some transactions, then I'll show you. So you can see there is FagleFlexT is still available as a table. But how can I check whether this is still a table or from where exactly it is bringing the data? So for that, let's go to SE11. Enter your FagleFlexT, whatever is your table. Click on display. Okay, you can see it is a view. It is no more a table. I'll show you how the table will appear. So if you go to SE11, go for BKPF, BSEG, ACDOK, whatever tables are available. Just click on display. You can see how the table definition is appearing. It is giving you the option of technical settings, append structure, fields here. But if you go for this one, you can see it is not giving you the option of technical settings and all. Even here fields, instead of fields, it is showing you view fields. Okay, and here it will tell you from where the data will come. If you go to table and join conditions, you can see the data is coming from another view. Let's double click on this. Okay, it will go to various different views and ultimately you will find that the data is coming from ACDoc. right? So what is happening in the background? Whenever a user asks any information to this table, it will go in the background, it will take the information from the main tables, and that information will be available to the user without the need to worry about what has happened to FlagelFlex. So what is the benefit? We don't need any memory to store the data in FlagelFlex. We don't need to have any aggregates or total tables. Still, we are getting the same benefit, and that too at the much faster speed compared to the old database. Okay, this is the example of. Yeah, sorry.
Actually, I have one question. Let's suppose last year we have migrated our data in SAP S4 HANA. So what about our previous data that is migrated to the our new table SE.A, or it is still lie in FAGF flexed?
No. See, once this is converted to CDS view, it will not hold any data. So whatever data was available here, that will be migrated to SE.A.
Okay.
Even when you do the migration, we have one topic of system conversion that we are going to see later. Whatever data from the old tables will be migrated to the new tables. So which means even your historical data, migrated data will be appear in the new tables. Clear?
Okay.
I have one question on this one. So because of why we are using the FlagelFlex view, because we made the, as you mentioned, we made the custom program. Used, that's why we are using. Let's say I'm creating the brand new custom program in S4 HANA. At that time, still do you suggest to use these old tables, or we can directly use the new tables in the program?
No. We can directly. We have both the options open. We can use the old tables, views, or we can use the new table directly. So it is up to us.
Okay.
But it is
There
recommended.
is no better. Yeah.
No, it is recommended to go for the new tables directly. That will be better, right? Because otherwise, again, you have to pick some information from FlagelFlex, then another information from another table. In AC.A, you are getting all the information at one place. So there is no need of picking the data from multiple tables. One table will give you all the information.
Okay, exactly. Thank you. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Same works for the other tables also, not only FlagelFlex. I've given you the example of the aggregates. Now let's take an example of index table. Same goes for the BSIS also. If you go to BSIS table, okay, if you go to SE11 for BSIS this time, display, see, this is also same, view fields. If you go to table join and condition, you can see data is coming from BKPF and DC. Okay, which means BSIS is not holding any data. Whenever a user will come and ask any information from BSIS, BSIK, BSID, BSIS, BSID, BSAK, etc. Okay, all those things are also migrated and it will come from the main tables, AC.A or any other main table. Right, so aggregates as well as index tables are no more available. All the aggregate and index tables are gone. They are replaced by CDS views. Clear? So let's go to the HANA features and try to understand whether we covered everything. So within HANA, we understood what is in memory. We understood what do you mean by multi-core processor. There is nothing to understand here. We understood what are the benefits of column-based data storage. So two benefits. Number one is faster query processing. Number two is compression. We understood what is HANA calculation engine. Because of HANA calculation engine, now there is no need of aggregate tables. We understood what are aggregate and index tables and how they are replaced with the CDS views. Okay, and we understood what is parallelization. It means carrying out multiple activities at the same time. Okay, so I think we should stop here. I thought maybe we'll be able to cover this, but no problem. We don't want to be fast. We will cover this in our next session. What are the different deployment options, new implementation methodology, Fiori, and Activate. So in our next two sessions, that is on next Saturday and Sunday, we'll be able to talk about deployment options, adoption options, Fiori, and SAP Activate. So next two sessions again will be conceptual sessions, followed by the practical things that we are going to see in the system directly from the functionality point of view, from the configuration and whatever changes have been done in the financial area. Okay, so any questions before we stop here today? I hope you received the slides as well as the video of yesterday's session.
Yes.
No, sir. No,
Yes.
sir, I could not receive.
Mahesh, you have not received. Okay, anyone else who has not received? Okay, Mahesh,
Yeah, I also did not receive.
Okay, just give me a minute. Can you just, whoever has not received, can you just write on the chat screen?
Chat screen is disabled.
Is it disabled? Just give me a minute. Okay, maybe something wrong. Okay, no problem. So Mahesh and Lara.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay then. So I will send these two recordings, today's recording also together. I will make sure that it is sent to both of you also.
One doubt,
Okay.
Vikram.
Yes.
You said it's around 3 hours per weekend, right? So it might take approximately 12 to 14 weekends, right? Like 2 to 3 months, the course.
But what will happen is, now we are talking about the concept here, and that is the reason we are going slow as of now. We are only going 1.5 hours, right? But later on, once we are in the system, we will take around 2 hours, 2.5 hours also sometime.
Okay. So it might take
So on an
approximately
average,
2 months, right?
to 10 weeks on an average.
10 weeks. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then thank you all. Bye. See you in the next class.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vikram.
Thank you,
Thank
Vikram.
you.